So question 11 here is very similar to the previous question. And if you watched the previous video, we talked about how you can save time by just going straight to a specific point in the text, reading it, and not wasting your time reading the entire passage when you're only being asked about a very specific section of the whole passage. In this case, question 11 is even easier than question 10 because you are looking at a very specific point in the text, in Nixon's speech, the very ending of it. But unlike 10, you don't actually have to compare Nixon's speech to Ford's speech. You're just going straight to passage number 1, I believe it is, that Nixon, where Nixon gives his speech. And you want to go to the very end of the speech, which, just to be safe, you can go to the last 3 paragraphs. Maybe looking at paragraph 12, that last sentence wouldn't give you enough context. So if you want to just be safe, still saving yourself time, you can look at the end of the speech and you can consider the end of the speech to be maybe paragraphs 10, 11, and 12. And if you look at paragraphs 10, 11, and 12, you're just trying to understand what Nixon is saying at this point in his speech. And once you have an idea of kind of the main idea of his ending of his speech, then you can look at the answer options and decide, all right, which one most accurately summarizes what he's saying, summarizes his message. So let's do the same thing that we did for question 10. If you have your piece of scratch paper when you're taking the test, this is a great type of question to write down a summary of what you're seeing at the end of Nixon's speech. That way, on your own summary, you can look and compare it to what you see in the answer options and find what the best match is between your summary and the one that looks most close to it in the answer options. So as we read through passages, paragraphs 10 through 12, we see that Nixon is talking about, in passing this office to the vice president, I also do so with the profound sense of the weight of responsibility that will fall on his shoulders tomorrow, and therefore of the understanding, the patience, the cooperation he will need from all Americans. As he assumes that responsibility, he will deserve the help and the support of all of us. As we look to the future, the first essential is to begin healing the wounds of this nation, to put the bitterness and divisions of the recent past behind us, and to rediscover those shared ideals that lit at the heart of our strength and unity as a great and as a free people. By taking this action, I hope that I will have hastened the start of the process of healing, which is so desperately needed in America. So Nixon is looking forward to the future. He understands that he's passing the baton to his successor. He's handing it off to Ford to become the next president. And he's saying, well, Ford is going to have a tough road ahead of him. But he's saying, I hope that in this future that we can have a more peaceful, a kind of a healing process in this next presidency. So if that's the main idea that we're writing down on our piece of scratch paper, we're going to compare that main idea to which one in the answer options looks most closely to that, or it looks like the best match. So if we look at A, it says, by calling on his fellow citizens to support his successor and look to the future. That sounds pretty close to what I just said in my summary of the ending, right? I restated in my own words, but that was pretty close to A. So that immediately looks like the correct answer. Let's just take a glance at B through D so we can verify that A is actually correct. By apologizing for his wrongdoings. I don't know about you, but I didn't hear any apology in there. I didn't hear any kind of remorse or apology from Nixon. So that's definitely not an option. Maybe he does call on his listeners to move forward, but I don't think he apologizes at any point. So there's no apology. B is not correct. C, by praising his successor. So praising Ford and then warning his successor against the dangers of office. He does acknowledge that it's going to be a hard job in paragraph 10 and that it's going to have a lot of responsibility, but it's not a warning. And he doesn't ever praise Ford. He doesn't ever say that Ford is some great guy or that he's going to be the best president ever. So there's no sense of praise. And then the warning, it's not really a warning. It's just kind of an acknowledgement that it's going to be a hard job. C is not a very strong answer, especially given that A was so spot on. We're looking for something that's going to persuade us that A is not the correct answer here, and C is just not enough. And then D is funny. It says scolding his listeners or forcing him from office. So he's not apologizing, but he's also not, angry at the American people, and he's not scolding them. He's not telling them, hey, tisk tisk, you guys should not have forced me to resign. I'm angry at you. You should be ashamed of yourselves. He's not saying that. So A is clearly the best option.